Hey guys, I'm here to write a review of my Nix 1964 Rough Out Overlanders. I received these back in about October. I wanted to wait for a little bit to get them broken in and try to give an honest overview and review of how well their performance is in a work environment as well as during just day-to-day wear. So, as far as my occupation goes, I work in the animal feed industry. I'm on my feet a lot, on plant floors and concrete. Initially, I was a little worried about choosing a work leather specifically. Nix has work leathers and casual leathers, heritage leathers, because about 50% of their use is going to just be standing or walking around rather than any actual physical labor. However, we live on an 8-acre farm, which is set on a 300-acre family-owned larger parcel. So we're kind of homesteaders as well. And the boots are going to be put to work at home, kicking shovels. I saw trees and split wood to heat the house. We're going to be using it to run a tractor, maintaining the barns and other outbuildings and such. I actually am real big into conservation work here on the property. I plant a lot of trees, and so I kick a dibble bar a lot. About 150 trees a year or so is what I've been planting the past few years. So that was kind of a big consideration. The Overlanders kind of really spoke to me specifically as an outdoorsman, because I often take unplanned treks into the woods with the family. I've got two sons that are twins, and I got a younger son. And my wife and we take walks through the creeks that run through the property. And I also do a little bit of nature photography, kind of as a side hobby on these little adventures as well. I do a lot of home improvement and DIY. I likely wouldn't choose these for any of the finished carpentry that I do. I mean, you don't really want to be on your hands and knees in an 8-inch boot. At least I don't. If you got these in a 6-inch size, they'd probably serve you better as that in that function. But just general tear down and ceiling work and that sort of thing, they work great. I chose the 1964 leather because I personally found it to be that perfect shade of brown that kind of goes with anything. When I initially ordered the boots, I was a little disappointed because Rough Out for this leather wasn't quite available yet. But this is just a good example I have of Nick's great customer service. So a couple months after I placed my order, the 1964 Rough Out became available, and they were announcing it on Facebook, and I contacted them via email. I said, hey, I placed this order a couple months ago, and I see that my order hasn't been started. How hard would that be for you guys to switch those to Rough Out? And they said, no problem. Not a problem at all. And I thought that was pretty awesome. And I did end up getting the full Rough Out, the lowers and the uppers. I wanted Rough Out. I kind of wanted something that wasn't going to require brushing out the scuffs and scrapes every day. I kind of wanted them to wear it at work, even after they take a beating at home. And this kind of led me to pick the 1964 full Rough Out Overlander specifically. And they really are just kind of perfect in every way for exactly what I need. And they really do meet the high expectations I had for a pair of handmade boots. I mean, I've had Red Wings for a while. I've been wearing Red Wings, and these are just kind of on another level. I've never had a pair of boots quite of this quality. One thing I did like about the process of getting them was I was able to directly speak to an actual person via email throughout the entire ordering process, and their response time was really good. They kind of helped confirm that I chose a pair of boots that were going to fit my specific needs, as well as kind of steer me towards ordering a standard size as opposed to going through their custom fitting process. I ended up using an online guide to measure my foot and send them the measurements, and they kind of indicated that I had a very standard size 8 foot. This concerned me initially because normally I wear 9s in my regular shoes and 8.5s in some of the other boots I have, but when I got them and put them on, they initially felt a little snug, but I could tell right away that they were going to fit absolutely perfect when I broke them in. And so that was really awesome. So don't feel like you have to do their custom fit if you don't want to spend that extra time. I would just follow their recommendations that they recommended. I measure my foot, send them the measurements, and they said I was a standard 8, and it looks like I am. So, like I said, these fit absolutely perfect. Don't have to send them back. Don't have to fiddle with it. I know Nix would make it right if they didn't, but fortunately for me, I didn't have to worry about that. The one thing they had to get used to was the fully gusseted 8-inch tongue. They were a little stiff, the boots themselves, and so with that big long tongue, it was a little difficult to get my foot into them initially. Repeatedly wearing them and putting a few hundred hours of wear time onto them has vastly improved this. As every reviewer you'll ever hear say about Nix boots, I mean, these things are just absolutely 100% built like tanks. I mean, I feel like I could survive an apocalypse in these boots. Like I said, I've worn Red Wings traditionally as my, quote-unquote tough pair of footwear, but there really is no competition. I'm not going to knock Red Wing, but, I mean, these are just absolutely beyond thick. The leather is just beyond thick. When I pulled them out and saw how thick that leather was, and, I'm going to be doing a lot of sawing to keep my home heated, and, I always wear a pair of steel toe covers when I saw, but the rest of your foot's really not protected by anything, and these boots kind of give me a little extra sense of security, but I just couldn't hardly believe how thick that leather is. You will pull them out, especially if you're someone like me who's never had a pair of footwear like this, and you will pull them out and feel that leather and go, wow, these are beyond thick. The leather laces, they're also really strong and thick. I've never had leather laces on a shoe before, so I really don't have anything to compare them to. But I just kind of assumed that the leather laces wouldn't hold up as well as maybe traditional laces. But just based on how thick these are, I really believe they're going to last a long time with proper conditioning. The stitching on the entire boot looks perfect. The double welt stitching looks just unbelievably strong. There are literally screws through the outsole. It's the first time I saw an outsole like that. I mean, I laughed out loud because, there are well-built boots out there, and then there's this. You might wonder why a pair of boots can cost as much as they do, but until you hold them, a pair of boots like this in your hand, and to see what went into producing them, you're gonna believe it. Because, like I said multiple times, these are on another level of any piece of footwear I've ever owned. I've also actually never owned a pair of boots that had a leather stacked heel, so this was something I was definitely looking forward to trying out, just, aesthetically, as well as just from the comfort of that. One thing I was actually pretty surprised about the break-in on these. They're the 1964 leather, and so looking at Facebook, and in the group I'm in, they do indicate that the 1964 is a little easier to break in than most of the leathers. That was my experience as well. Initially, with that tall tongue and, the leather being so stiff, getting them on and off was the worst part. Wearing them, they fit so well. The fit was so perfect on these that, I didn't really have too much trouble breaking them in. If I was mostly just walking around, doing some stuff at home, at work, I just was mostly walking around. I wasn't doing a lot of hard manual labor. If you tried to take these out of the box and, go work some, a hard job at, do some construction or something like that, yeah, you might not have a lot of fun. I think that in general, my process that I had with Nix was a 10 out of 10. They kept in communication with me. They helped me through the ordering process. They helped, assure me that these were a good fit for what I wanted to do. I made that change to my order midway through the process. They had no problem switching that over. Other companies would probably say nothing. They would probably just not even respond to that request. I was 2 months into my order, to make a change. They had no, there was nothing to say that they could just, ignore my emails. I mean, no company would probably do that, but they could have. But yeah, they allowed me to switch right away. And so yeah, I mean, they're 10 out of 10 for me. Customer service was great. I had no problem ordering from them ever again. The boots themselves, I mean, they're absolutely perfect for what I'm going to be doing here. Just, 50% walking around at work, 50%, more hard labor here at home, keeping the house heated, like I said, maintaining buildings, doing DIY projects, hiking, anything. And that, I think that's was the big appeal. And, a lot of the selling point for these, for me, was, you're gonna be well equipped doing anything. This is my great grandparents' property, and I thought of my great grandpa a lot when I ordered these because, I worked with him, before he passed, and he did 10 unique tasks a day, and that could include, taking care of the animals, running the tractor, farming, harvesting crops, driving to town to get the truck, and so I mean, just anything, changing a tire, everything. He wore the same pair of shoes for every task. He didn't have 4 pairs of shoes he'd change, and boots he'd change in and out of. He did everything in one pair, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a pair that I could go work a 10-hour day at work, walking around, come home, go on a hike with my family, and then come back and split some wood. I mean, and that's exactly what these are great for. I mean, they're gonna serve me no matter what I want to do. I have no problem, ordering again from Nick's. My plan is when my sons grow and they stop growing, they're gonna each get their own pair of Nick's, and I think that those will serve them for decades and decades, just like this pair is going to serve me for a long, long time. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, spend the money, get a pair of Nick's. I think you will be amazed. I mean, if there was one word that would describe this boot, it is thick. That leather is so thick, you will not regret any purchase. Just taking them out of the box and just feeling how well made this boot is. And that's all I got. Thank you.